Hey, welcome to the second post-game episode. And in this one, we just wrapped up an interview with Eigenlayer. Whew, man, guys, like I'm sitting in the background and I got no video or headphones, but you guys crushed it today. Like I think this is our like honestly I don't mean to be hyperbolic with this, but I think this was our best interview yet. Not only was the interviewer great, but you guys were great as well too. You're really on point. You knew everything front to back, and you were able to get really, really, really in depth with everything about Eigenlayer. So congrats, guys. I really appreciate what you did this episode.
Thank you. Yeah, Eigenlayer
Thank you.
has been something, I've been looking at for a few months, and I've been meaning to learn, and it never really clicked with me until, I referenced at the beginning of the episode, I was talking to my friend, and then I watched a few videos about it, his interview, and I'm like, because it's a hard concept to trust, outsourcing trust. What the hell is that? What do you mean outsourcing trust? But then once you hear him explain it, it's like, oh, I get it. And then once I wrote that article I kept on referencing in the interview, I'm like, that's what really got me tentative understanding of our tentative understanding of Eigenlayer. And I'm like, okay, I get it. And then I was able to do my thing. And then Kiet, before the interview, you prepared a bunch of questions and you really dove in as well.
Yeah. I mean, this whole modularity blockchain thing was always an area of interest of mine, but reading it was so different than having someone here who's an expert and you can just ask them all the questions that I had pent up deep inside me, right? There was no one I can kind of run to ask this. And just like you said, Dave, the moment after you hear him speak about it, there's a point of clarity that just hits, but more importantly, your imagination starts going and thinking about oh, what are the implications of this? How far can this thing go? And this is really, really big deal.
As a former, infrastructure aficionado, especially at my gelato days, I got it right away when he was talking about these actions are enforceable via Eigenlayer. You have to, and there's actual repercussions if you don't do a specific action. And that's extremely powerful.
So what did you guys find when you were doing your research? What changed the most in your opinion before, thinking about how you understood Eigenlayer before the interview and then doing the research and then having gone and done this interview? What has changed? Have you just become more solidified in your opinion that Eigenlayer is going to be something transformational, or is there something else?
I think before I didn't understand Eigenlayer at all. Before the interview, I was thinking Eigenlayer can cover these really broad things, whether it's data availability, whether it's bridges, whether, and then after the interview, I'm like, wait, you can create Eigenlayer for any condition or any action. It could be something simple as liquidations. It could be the smallest things we can think of, can be integrated into Eigenlayer. And so I come out of it wow, there could be hundreds, if not thousands of different things that could be Eigenlayer, clusters for.
Yeah, for me, it was actually how large of an attack surface Eigenlayer has. Everything is going to get Eigenlayered. There was this one graph, we have to bring it up, where he basically just took all the alt L1s or just the big ones, just dropped them on top of Eigenlayer and be like, these guys can have trust, can have ETH trust. So you still have your, Avalanche community or your Cosmos community, but you could have the trust that is the most pristine, and that is on Ethereum, which is mind-blowing to me.
Even one thing I really loved what he talked about at the beginning and at the end was this, mental models of seeing the world, and through these mental models, that's how he came up with Eigenlayer. And when he was talking about evolution, I didn't mention this on the program, but I immediately had a flashback to my philosophy of evolution college class, where there was this concept. I forget the name of the philosopher who presented it. It was called cranes and skyhooks. So skyhooks is this concept of intelligent design. It's this random hook in the sky that's slowly building blocks one on top of the other, or slowly building things one on top of the other. And that's impossible. A hook can't stand out of the sky, but with cranes, you can basically you can have a crane, build itself up, and then it can create another crane one step at a time. And that's how evolution happens. It's just it might seem impossible. It might seem like magic at first, but there is a clear line of how one thing got to another thing based on these small building blocks. And that's, And we take that outside of biology and into like blockchains, and there's kind of this like natural selection of whether it's like, DeFi protocols or like, things that like more like infrastructure level or consensus level, like, in innovation, like the best, the best thing's going to win.
You know what I really loved about the conversation is that our friends at Bankless really love to talk about like Ethereum as a nation state, that ETH is this kind of nebulous security apparatus that makes sure like all the users and dApps on the inside are like safe at all times, right? So there's like network security, it provides security for everybody inside. And what I loved about the Eigenlayer interview is that Shahram said that like a nation exports its security, right? It doesn't have like individual security apparatuses for like public works or defense or anything else. There's a nebulous blob, and then everything operates within it. And Eigenlayer is trying to build that and then export that to the world. And I thought that was my favorite comment from this episode.
Beautiful analogy.
And the thing that what's really funny is, right, I remember back in 2017 when there was the whole like Bitcoin Cash debate, right? Like Bitcoin maxis are like, there can only be one chain and one chain only. Bitcoin is like there's Bitcoin and then everything else. And then we had this proliferation of all these L1s, right? We had the split off of Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash and like a million different other networks. And then ETH comes in.
Bitcoin Diamond.
Yeah, exactly. And now we're coming back full circle, really, where like the argument to have L1s with Eigenlayer just kind of disappears. Like you only need one network or maybe like a couple for security. But then like everything at the tail end, that kind of like long tail, is just not necessary anymore, because you could just bootstrap it through ETH security and have all the same like validation and consensus security that an ETH node would, but for your new service that has like 5 people using it.
Yeah, and if you're gonna do something like real different than proof of stake or proof of work, like Chia, like proof of space, like it forces you to, like, if you were gonna like, oh, I don't want fuck proof of stake, I don't want to do that. It forces you to be like really different from that if you don't want proof of stake.
Right. Yeah. It takes away from the copy pasta L1s. Like you can't just be like, hey, we're EVM compatible, come on over. It really raises the bar there. I really like that too.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's disappointing really, because, like I love ETH and I love what's being built in the crypto space, but it's just taken the Bitcoiners up until now to figure out like, oh, hey, like putting some data in an ordinal and creating an NFT might actually save the network, right? And so we have the most chain security here, like way more than ETH, right? We have the most chain security, but may not have the fee structure there, but like the security is there, but nobody's going to build a Eigenlayer on Bitcoin, right? It's coming to ETH because of what ETH has done and the openness that ETH has to like innovate. And, Shahram really wants to innovate. At the end
he's an innovation maximalist.
Yeah, he is. He is an InnoMaxi for sure, dude. Like I just love how driven he is by his philosophies and like the ethos of who he is. That's what I feel like when he speaks to other builders and getting people to integrate on top of Eigenlayer. Like I'm very bullish on that, because I feel like he, like they can empathize with each other and they can understand where they want to build this space. So I feel like he's gonna have no problems picking on like integrator and protocol partners. The one area though is like, I don't know how the staking bit, like how is he going to get that initial seed stakers to really opt in?
Stake farming, stake grilling.
Well, yeah,
stake
and
grilling,
also like it's such a good idea. Somebody with a lot of Ethereum is going to come in and provide a big stake.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's definitely going to be a token. I read the consensus article of like hypothetically what a token would look like. So it's coming. I'm sure there will be like some early incentives for early stakers or something. Who knows? Like I'm really excited for like all the games that will come in like in the future when Eigenlayer fully launches and like all these different networks come on board and like what they're going to offer. Like, hey, come secure on network. We have these. These incentives and that one, it's going to be like, DeFi summer all over again, but
right.
Like ETH staking.
And it kills a lot of the narrative, because like all these new networks that have launched, especially in 2023 and 2022, they've been. It's not even about the consensus anymore. Like people don't really talk about like.
No, it's about the language.
It's about the language, but like the language doesn't matter if you can just come and bootstrap off of ETH security and then just spin up in a network using Move or whatever.
Any VM you want,
Any VM you want, right? Any VM.
Yeah.
So like why like put your capital at risk in something with a more risky, higher volatility, less TVL?
Exactly.
I'm so sick of L1s.
Yeah.
I think it's over. This is like really marking the end of it. Like, what's the point? Unless you're going to do something so different,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So coming back to the end about what Sharon was talking about, what did you think about his like end goal or end vision for Eigenlayer?
I really liked it because he's like, restaking is just the start. And I'm like, whoa, what do you mean? And then he was like, think about this. You have like intellectual property, you have the created commons, for which, for the common good. But what if you could like have some like middle ground that actually works, and like you can like have something for the created commons, but also be like for the common good, and also like have the right incentives for it. And like, he's speaking on a very broad level, but as a creator, I was like, that really like, had my attention there. And like, he has big plans beyond, restaking. It's like, this is like just the start, like at this like super infrastructure technical level, but soon it's going to get like higher and higher and higher up. And I think it's going to be really important.
What did he call it again? It was like, he wants to expand the design space.
Like permissionless innovation. I think
permissionless innovation.
He kept on like, I feel like that like it's like his slogan. It's like he probably has a poster of that right in front of his bed when he wakes up. And he's like, permissionless innovation. That's what I'm bringing to the world, and that's such a good thing, dude. That's such a good like philosophy. And I don't, aside from Sam K, like I haven't heard from a lot of founders who have like such clarity in the vision of what they want to build. Although Shriram's a bit more nebulous in his definition, because I really want to see how it really plays out. But I'm glad that he has a true North Star that he's driving forward to.
Yeah. It'll be great if the product that they release is just as simple as spinning up like an AWS instance, or just deploying a few lines of code, and all of a sudden,
so true.
Like, you've got it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like, let's touch on the FrxETH integration a little bit, because I want to get you guys' thoughts, because I could totally see there being a brand new product that Frax built to help you manage your FrxETH as like a kind of like an aggregator bit, but only for the restaking portion, like, so you can earn yield from everywhere else. And I like that has to be the future of like a new way to earn your yield on your staked ETH. And therefore, it kind of renders like liquid staking like maybe null, because you are already getting all this yield off of your ETH. You don't need to have a LSD version of it to go earn yield elsewhere. Mm-hmm. I kind of want to get you guys' thoughts there.
I'm not sure if Frax would be the ones building the optimizer, but I think they would just focus on, building the best vault. So like building the best like Eigenlayer data availability vault, building the best Frax chain vault. And like, I don't think it's Frax's like MO to like build a like the optimizer. I mean, they could if they want to, but like, there's like, I feel like there's like a lot of things like Frax could build, but they choose not to because it's just not part of their mission and their ultimate end goal.
Yeah, no, I agree with that as well too. I mean, like that sounds like a third-party system that somebody would build on top of Frax, right? Like Frax would kind of build the core constituent Legos, and then somebody would come along and build that optimizer on top, and then figure out how to make it profitable. Yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah,
but what do you guys think about like LSD in a post Eigenlayered world?
I mean, new LSDs would come out. I mean, but just for like those networks, because like the way Rocket Pool and Steth are built, they can't just integrate Eigenlayer. It would have to be like FrxETH actually can, but like I think new LSDs would have to come out. I don't know. What do you think, Sam?
Well, okay. Not so this just becomes like Napgener talk time again, but I saw a really interesting post that he had today where he he was talking about the Kraken settlement that came. So Kraken has to come, and they're like 7% of all ETH staked right now.
Yeah.
They have to unstake all of it as soon as Shanghai is open, right? And that's not going to go quickly. That's going to take a long. They have over, I think they have 1.6 million ETH that they have to unstake. That's a lot. It's going to take a long time. Plus, like Lido's going to be unstaking. Everybody's going to be unstaking through Shanghai.
Bullish unlock.
Bullish unlock. Yeah. It's probably going to take upwards of a year for that backlog to clear itself and get down to like a week, or not a week, like a 2-week period. Could be even longer than that. Could be 18 months before we have like month or 2-month withdrawals from staking. So sure. Yeah. The peg for Frax is going to be super important. And I think that's, people are going to look at it post Shanghai and say, wow, you know, I can get in and out of ETH this way into staking, out of staking. The only place that has the best peg and is close to 1, right? And earns the highest yields.
It's really the MVP of LSDs.
Yeah, MVP. So no, I don't think this dissuades any sort of thing that Frax is building. If anything, it just makes it stronger because it's just going to add another yield layer on top where, you know, stake FrxETH stakers can put it into another vault and earn another, you know, 2, 3, 5, 10%, whatever the yield is.
Right.
Yeah.
It's really crazy. I was really impressed. Like I had not seen any interviews of Shram coming into this, and
he's gone down to like down packed to a science. Like this interview, he explained everything so well, and probably part of it is like, you know, me and Kiet came in with an understanding. He's been doing it for so long, and so when we got like us two together, like once he said programmable staking, I'm like, that's such an elegant way to put it.
Yeah. And you know, I really loved the question at the end where you asked him about like what would you tell your younger self. I thought it was really telling about like how he thinks about the world, right? Where you know, he thought about it for a while, and then he said, you should really learn what mental models work, or like what the mental models are for the world, like how things work in general, right? And I think that's really telling about Eigenlayer, because Eigenlayer like takes the best things about ETH, right, and then just doesn't even change that much, like just builds on top of it, changes the mental model about how we view all this network security and like what we're actually like staking for and working towards, and then opens up an entirely new set of boundaries and possibilities to work within. It's very cool.
That was my favorite part, and really had me think like, like how can I apply this to my own life? How could we apply this to Flywheel? Like, you know?
Yeah. And it's such like an engineering like way to view the world, right? Where, you know, like an engineer is always thinking about like, how can I, like, here's a system. How can I break it down and understand its respective parts? And not really trying to like understand the system as a whole, but like understanding the individual parts so much that you can build something that now becomes its own system that has like infinite outliers of what it can be, right? Really interesting. I really respect him for that.
Yeah, Eigenlayer's in good hands.
Agreed. And I guess also, guys, remember, he came from academia, right? I feel like that has to speak to his background of how he thinks about things and how optimistic he kind of is towards driving to the future. And on top of that, he came from computational genetics. On top of that, like he really wants to do good for the world and humans. So I'm glad he's on our side.
I think there's when I look at the type of people in crypto, right? There's like degens who just like don't think, they just ape. They're more like poker players, right? That's why you see a lot of poker players is like degens, because they're more thinking about probabilities and about like finding the best way to maximize value through probability analysis, right? Then you have like your builders, but these are not like Sharam, right? They're more like Andre, who he's a builder who's like maximizing utility of the system, right? Like building within the system to like maximize utility within it, but he's not really expanding the system like as a whole, right? And then you have other types of builders like Shrum who are not just like, they're really like agnostic about, again, like he said, for his vision, he's like agnostic about like what's coming, but he's more focused on about like, how can we expand the system itself so that there's more like design space to work within it so we can build even more, right? And I think that last part is like where you typically see like academics, right? Because it takes an insane level of like understanding of math and network security and engineering to be able to get to the point where you can make these assumptions about like what you want to build in the first place, right? Rather than just trying to like build new casino games that Degens will go play.
I've been casinoed out, and like I feel like I'm just seeing. I want to see more and more real stuff, and I feel like if you watched every Flywheel from the beginning till now, it's kind of this like realization of like, okay, like we're in this speculation phase, we're in this casino phase, but real things are being built. Real things are being built, and like, what are those real things? Like, how can we give a spotlight to them? And then like, how does like Frax fit into those real things? Like that has like, I feel like that's been the natural evolution of Flywheel, whether it's with Eigenlayer, whether it's with LSDs, whether, you know, the Chainlink interview, which I am very fond of. You know, it's just like all about building towards, you know, eventually connecting to the real world, but also like, how does the real world come to us, and how do we make the real world want to come to us?
Yeah.
Do you guys have any closing thoughts?
Just great job, guys. You were really well prepared today. I love the questions. I loved his answers as well too. And it kind of, I was in the same boat as you guys coming into this, just thinking like, oh, Eigenlayer, like restaking, but it's so much more than that.
No, it's much more than the restaking. I was just thinking of like Gort when you were saying that.
Me too. I was just like, Gort just mental virused me.
Yeah.
Staking. We'll send this to Gort after. This was a fun one. Sam, you want to close this out?
Great job, guys. So you can find me. I'm at Traders Insight. We got capital K. Is it OX capital K? And we got DeFi Dave 22. We're all up in the house. We love you guys.
And don't forget to subscribe to all our juicy alpha. Go to Flywheel Output. Subscribe right now. Don't forget to hit us up on Telegram, Twitter, Flywheel DeFi. And don't forget to subscribe. Hit that bell button.
And if there's anybody that you want to see that we haven't spoken with, we have ideas like, who haven't we spoken to? What aren't we writing about? Like who should we talk to in the Frax community? Just like tell us below, like leave a comment, you know, because we'll go out. Yeah. We're very open to your suggestions.
We're listening to you.
Yeah. Hypnotize us, guys.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week. Ciao.
Peace.